Lloydminster Schools will be receiving a fund from the government of Saskatchewan to help offset inflation. Over $180,000 will be provided to the border city school divisions. Education Minister Dustin Duncan says the aim is to ensure every Saskatchewan student and teacher has the supports needed to achieve success in the classroom. The Lloydminster Public School Division will receive $100,000 and the Lloydminster Catholic School Division will receive $85,000. This is only a fraction of the $20 million total being invested into the 2022-23 school year. Saskatchewan has experienced above average amount of tornadoes already this summer season, and Alberta is right in the peak of seeing some severe thunderstorms. Our Shelby Clark spoke with meteorologist Peter Quinlan on why the high influx of storms is occurring and what these two provinces could expect for next August.
Joining us today for Primetime Local News is Peter Quinlan, once again, a meteorologist with Global News. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Peter.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Shelby. Great to be here.
Of course, glad to be able to have you on here. Now, we spoke recently on the heat waves through Alberta and Saskatchewan, and that's still continuing in most spots, but we're also seeing some days with some strong storms, some very severe thunderstorms coming around the provinces here. So why do you think that is? We just kind of want to be able to speak with you and get your expertise on it.
Yeah, well, we have a few conditions that are making the environment right for tornado and strong storm development. One of those is that we're into the heat of the summer, and that is one of the main aspects we need for severe weather. Another one is we've got the humidity around. We've had some recent rains, and also there's a process called evapotranspiration that comes off of the crops, where they basically emit moisture into the air. And when you add moisture into the air, it becomes more buoyant. It wants to rise, and that's when we get those strong buildup of clouds, cumulonimbus clouds, thunderstorm clouds that develop. And then the third mechanism we need for strong severe weather are low pressure systems. And we've had a few of those pass through, and all of those things act together to provide the trigger for severe weather. And when we have those lows and even sometimes an upper disturbance pushing through, we have the fuel and the rotation in the atmosphere needed to trigger rotating thunderstorms we call supercells and the potential for tornadoes.
We've been seeing quite a lot of storms and, tornadoes around the Saskatchewan area in particular, and seeing a little bit more around the Alberta area, of course, mostly in the central zone there, as we came a little bit more into the end of July, heading into August. Would you say that this is pretty abnormal, having this amount of storms in July and August, or is this kind of on average, or you see on a yearly basis?
We do typically expect quite a few severe and even tornadic thunderstorms throughout the summer months on average. It is actually still less than normal. Normally in Alberta, we see between 12 and 15 tornadoes on average. On the Alberta side, on the Saskatchewan side, we usually see 17 to 18 tornadoes on average. So in Alberta, we've seen 7 tornadoes so far this year, which is below the average of 12 to 15 tornadoes. In Saskatchewan, though, we've seen 19 or 20 tornadoes so far this year, which is actually just above the average. The reason why it seems like a lot is because, well, it has been in Saskatchewan. And on the Alberta side, the last few years, actually just last year, we only had 3 tornadoes in total. And in Saskatchewan, we just saw a handful of tornadoes as well. So the previous few years, we've had less than our normal number of tornadoes than we would typically see. So this year being around or even above average in Saskatchewan and slightly below average in Alberta still seems like a lot, just because we've come off of some pretty inactive years.
Well, it's really great to hear that it's nothing too crazy. We aren't getting too much more. And, I guess it's better to get less tornadoes than more. And unfortunately, I've been seeing that a little bit more on the Saskatchewan side, but hopefully we won't be getting too much more later on in August. Now, with these storms have been causing not only tornadoes, we have been seeing some huge sizes of hail. Of course, everybody has seen that from that Red Deer storm that was a bit recent. So can we get a little bit of talking about this on the hail sizes especially?
Yeah, and those hailstones certainly are. We've seen them up to the size of softballs, baseballs, which is in diameter up to 11 to 12 centimeters in diameter potentially at times. So that is incredibly large. We saw 70 vehicles damaged from that, people having to pull over and deal with damage on their vehicles because they can't see, and they can also cause injury and even death to people when it hits them. So we've been seeing that because of the extent of the moisture, the extent of the heat, and the strength of the low pressure systems pushing through. That have generated very tall clouds. So basically, there's so much of an updraft in the storm that those hailstones get pushed way up into the heights of the cloud where it's well below zero. It freezes a new layer of ice on top of those hailstones, and then it falls back down, then gets pushed back up, and it gets another layer. So when there's enough of those ingredients, we get those hailstones to that extent. It is very rare to see those kind of size of hailstones with strong storms, but not completely out of the ordinary in Alberta.
And what could you say that we could expect with the upcoming month when it comes to severe storms and more importantly, tornadoes, around the Alberta and Saskatchewan area for this August?
Yeah, so still the threat of thunderstorms and tornadoes right through the end of August, really even the potential for some thunderstorms and tornadoes in the month of September, but less likely. August is definitely one of our busier months, but most of that is usually toward the start of the month. As we get toward the end of the month, one of the ingredients we lose is the moisture, and that is definitely a necessary one to get the clouds forming and things like that, but things tend to dry out toward the end of summer. So we'll likely see this activity start to die down over the next few weeks and into September even, but there still is the chance of an odd day that we just have the perfect conditions, a system moving in an upper trough, and also the heat and even some lingering humidity that could trigger more strong storms. These storms will become higher based as we take you toward the fall, so that means it'll be harder to get the tornadoes out of them, but they could have strong winds and still hail and heavy rain associated with them. But that's typically what we see as we head toward the beginning of fall.
And lastly, I wanted to ask, of course, get some tips from you. We did this with the heat waves and spoke a little bit of how people can stay safe and protect themselves when it comes to extreme heat out there. But let's get a little bit more into people protecting themselves when it comes to, these hailstorms when they are caught like that in that situation, like people were in that Red Deer storm, or even when it comes to tornadoes, of course, of what they can do to stay safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of tornadoes, whenever you see or have a tornado warning issued in your area, you need to get into the lowest level of your house in a room away from windows or doors, into a bathroom or a closet. Put a mattress over top of you if possible. You don't want to be in a room with a very high ceiling as well. So you want to take all of those things into consideration and make a plan well in advance of a tornado warning getting issued. As soon as the warning gets issued, that means a tornado is imminent or occurring, and you need to get into that spot, get your family safe as well, and your pets as well, as much as possible. So for those tornado warned cells, that's what the procedure should be. For severe thunderstorms, whenever thunder roars, you should go indoors, get away from windows because lightning can actually penetrate through them. Get away from metal. You don't want to be out in the open in a field, for example. You want to get inside. You don't want to be touching metal or in the water on a boat. In terms of hail, you want to make sure that if you are out driving and you're experiencing a hail storm, you need to pull out of the highway. Don't drive very slowly because sometimes the visibility gets reduced and you could get rear-ended. You want to get off of the road, pull over in a safe spot where there's a large shoulder, or if possible, just get back home if you are still close to home. You don't want to be under an underpass. That's a dangerous place to be as well. You often get a funneling of the wind, and also that is just not a safe place to cause congestion as well. So those are the tips for those three events.
Perfect, Peter. I know we didn't speak too long ago when it came to the heat wave, but I'm really glad we were able to speak once again to be able to speak on the tornadoes and the severe storms coming around the Alberta and Saskatchewan area. It's always great to get that reminder out there for how people can stay safe and be able to just, hear from your expertise on what we can expect for the rest of the summer. So thank you once again for joining us today.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely is certainly a very important time to stay safe. And thank you so much for having me, Shelby.
And now let's take a look at today's agriculture prices. With the month of September approaching in the blink of an eye, the Lakeland Rustlers men's soccer club have begun prepping for the upcoming regular season. Ahmed has more on that story.
Day number 1 of training camp kicked off Wednesday morning for the Lakeland Rustlers men's soccer club. The team is looking to have a better outcome this season after a heartbreaking defeat in the ACAC bronze medal game to the Red Deer Kings last fall. One player who was a part of the team is striker Samuel Dusomu, who's returning for his second year with the green and white and is determined to take a step up in the upcoming season.
We were a young team last year, so me being a second year, that means I have a step of leadership to take, help each other, help new players come in, and help mold the team.
Well, there are some new faces on the Rustlers this season, like goalkeeper Nicholas Flipovich out of Burlington, Ontario. Another player that's returned to the club is Giordano Chikashi, who's entering his 4th season with the club. Chikashi says he's expecting himself to take a step up, both on and off the field.
Leadership, not only by talking during the field, but also by the way of playing. So like leading the team during the games, scoring goals, doing assists, like doing my job as I expect from everybody else. Like everybody should work for the team, not for myself or for himself. Everybody should be working for the team, yeah, for the group.
The Rustlers will continue on with day number 1 of their training camp before they come back here again on September 17th when they play their first home game of the regular season against the Naydukes. Adil Ahmed, Primetime, Local Sports.
All right, it's time again to check in with Shelby Clark, who has an extended look at our evening weather forecast.
Thanks so much again there, Jace. Yes, now taking another extended look at your weather forecast, we will be checking out our central zone of our provinces to kind of start off there. And on the Alberta side, we have kind of stayed at the same conditions as what we were looking at yesterday, so haven't warmed up quite too much in most spots. Red Deer, Rocky Mountain House, and Whitecourt all at that 20-degree mark, as most spots are just underneath that. Jasper was looking a lot warmer yesterday, seeing just over that 25-degree mark there yesterday, but now they are 10 degrees cooler. They're just sitting at 15. 17 in Edson, while it is 19 in both Edmonton and Athabasca. Then switching over to our Saskatchewan side, they are looking slightly warmer compared to the Alberta side, with most spots now seeing past that 20 degrees. So looking slightly warmer compared to yesterday for sure. Meadow Lake and Cold Lake matching with us here in the border city at 18 degrees. 21 for both Prince Albert and Melfort, while it is 22 down in North Battleford, and Saskatoon is looking the warmest there with 24. Switching over to our northern zone now, they are looking slightly cooler compared to what we were seeing yesterday as well. Most spots just seeing between 15 to 17 degrees over on this end, especially up in this area with Uranium City down all the way into South End. As we go to La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, they just are both at 19 degrees, and down in La Ronge and Flin Flon, both hitting that 20 mark. And now switching back over to our Alberta side here for our northern zone. Not too much to say here. As you can see, we all have just reached 20 degrees over on this end, so they're looking slightly warmer than what they were looking at yesterday, while most spots were just seeing under 20 degrees. Going over to our southern zone now, Medicine Hat is kind of continuing that warm streak. They are now at 33 degrees, so looking a lot warmer in our southern zone as they warmed up condition-wise for sure. 27 and 28 for Calgary, Lethbridge, and Coronation, while Banff is just a few degrees cooler. So most spots are seeing that heat warning still in effect for them, and Environment Canada, of course. So please make sure you are staying safe out there, staying hydrated, using that sunscreen, but also have fun. Definitely have fun out there and enjoy that nice weather. And going back over to our Saskatchewan side, they are warmed up slightly. Yorkton is still looking slightly cooler, just reaching 20. 22 for both Regina and Estevan, but we start to warm up from there as we go a little bit more into our central zone. Moose Jaw at 25, while it's 27 in Kindersley, and Swift Current is just under that 30-degree mark. Now, going back across the region and looking at what we will expect throughout our evening and throughout the night tonight, we will be seeing some slightly warmer temperatures for our evening low. Seeing those double digits once again, and most spots are going to those double digits again for their evening low temperature. Meanwhile, last night we were cooled down quite a bit to those single-digit marks. Provost will be seeing a low of 10, while Myrna will be expecting to see a low of 11. Isle Cross and Bonnyville will be looking at a low of 12 degrees, while it'll be a low of 13 for Unity tonight. Meadow Lake will also be joining that low of 12 tonight, and Paradise Hill, Bonnyville, and Wainwright will be looking at a low of 14 and 15. Pearson will also be seeing that low of 14. So we will be looking between mostly like 12 to 15 for our evening lows tonight. So seeing those double digits warming up slightly, although most spots will be kind of expecting some showers for their condition wise, and Paradise Hill will be expecting that risk of a thunderstorm. And looking at our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, we'll be looking at a mixture of some sun and cloud tomorrow with a 21 for our daily high. Seeing 16 on Friday to start off our weekend. Unfortunately, cooling down on 16 with that high chance of that thunderstorm and some showers, but we will warm up just in time for Saturday and Sunday. Don't worry, we'll be seeing those 20s for our weekend. So we will be seeing a beautiful weekend coming up here in the border city. Even though we are cooling down on Friday, we will be warming it back up right after that.
And ending off with another photo submission. Thank you to everyone that submitted some nice weather shots to our Facebook page already. You can continue to do so. This one is from Tracy, and of course this is here in the border city. Absolutely glorious shot. Thank you so much. Love seeing those beautiful colors in the sky. That's all I have for now. RJ Smacky will have our news coming up after the break.
Thank you so much for being here today to do this interview with me. So 160 students have been recognized as completing the program. What does this mean for the province of Saskatchewan?
Well, as you may know, international engagement is a key part of our strategy, and certainly international engagement from an education perspective is pretty important to us. And so this program is important in terms of bringing students in from other countries. There's a number of countries that have participated. They come to Canada to enhance their English language skills, learn about the culture of this province, and then they go back to their home country as ambassadors for Saskatchewan. That's really a key part of our international engagement strategy, to have people talking about Saskatchewan, talking about the opportunities that there are here. Our view of life is that Saskatchewan's a great place to live and work and raise a family. And part of our international engagement strategy is about that, and the educational component of that, making sure people understand how important and the significant institutions that provide that education in this province, and the capacity for them to be able to provide that outreach to other people around the country, certainly around the world. Certainly when people want to come to Saskatchewan, they want to know about educational opportunities. They want to know about what the other opportunities are in Saskatchewan. And so this engagement strategy is pretty important for us.
There will be a certificate celebration ceremony for people who are being recognized. So what's that going to be like?
Students come that are participating in the program. And yesterday I was pleased to be at a ceremony in Saskatoon at the University of Saskatchewan to celebrate a number of students that were here from the Yucatan. So we have a bit of a celebration. We talk about the opportunities that are here. They get up and they talk about their experiences and what they hope to take back to their home country. And we provide them with a certificate, and it's actually quite a really nice event. But they certainly talk a lot about what they experience when they come to Saskatchewan. So as I said before, this international engagement strategy is pretty important to us. And I can tell you that from talking to a number of the students, their experience here has been just terrific, just as a number of Saskatchewan students that have gone to the Yucatan have come back and talked about what their experiences were like. And they were really life-changing. And I think people that come from the Yucatan, a number that I talked to yesterday, it was life-changing for them too. They didn't appreciate anything about Saskatchewan. They didn't know anything about our culture. And so exporting that to other parts of the world, is key to us, and it's important to them, certainly in terms of building their life skills and their experiences.
There has been tons of feedback from people who have been in the program.
I haven't had any negative feedback from anyone, and that's why we're certainly going to continue this program to provide further opportunities, not just for students from Saskatchewan, but from people from around the world to come here and experience the great part of this country that we have to offer.
How long has this program been going on?
It's been going on for a year. I think the first cohort went down in June. So it hasn't been going on for very long, but it's certainly part of our long-term engagement strategy to invite more students to come to experience what's happened in the province. We've had students from Mexico, we've had students from Vietnam, the Philippines, and Ecuador. So it's quite a diverse group of students that come to experience what we have here.
How do you think this program does show students coming from other countries what Saskatchewan is and about the province?
Students that are coming from the Yucatan, and that was the group of students that I was with yesterday, knew nothing about Saskatchewan before they came, unless they did a little bit of studying in advance of their trip. So I think it was quite eye-opening for them, not just the opportunities that are available, but the quality of our educational institutions. I think we have some of the finest post-secondary educational institutions in this country located in this province. So they get to come and experience that. Of course, they get to come and experience our weather too, which is a little bit different than the weather that they come from. But just to come and experience a different culture, I think, in terms of broadening their horizons and their life experiences.